Chandler Crouch is going to come up and talk about property taxes. Give him a hand.
Man, I'm all worked up. Ready to go. I just have to say, I wish he was still here, that I just want to thank him for his service. And then he goes off and fights in a war, holding a gun, putting his life at risk. And he's talking about all the other soldiers and veterans that have done that. And now he's back here fighting another war. And I just feel so humbled to be in front of you guys and to be here with Matt's group and here speaking after Kevin and John and everybody that's talked and standing in front of you guys, because there is a war going on. And he just said all the thoughts that I had. I'm like, oh my gosh, man, this guy is just on fire. But for them to go out and fight and risk their lives and for us to lose it at home is just not right. And I don't understand why one side of our country is just giving it away. And actually, I do have a thought on that, and it's something that I'm having trouble reconciling, because I don't think you have to be a Republican to be a Christian, but I don't understand why this is the only side I hear about trying to inject God into everything, or just acknowledge God's existence, acknowledge the rights that God has given us, and why the other side is trying to take God out of everything. It's a troubling thing, and it's not a political thing, it's a values thing. There's something much deeper than politics at play here, and it's these inalienable rights that the founders of our country recognize. And everything he's saying is right. If we can get past the politics and talk about the values, then I feel like we can reach some of the people that don't understand what Black Lives Matter really stands for. It's not about human rights and human dignity and human self-worth. Where I come from, my mom taught me that somebody's net worth wasn't in proportion with the value of the person. But yet, for some reason, we're in a situation where people are getting taxed out of their homes and nobody's looking out for the small guy. Well, I said last night, I'm going to say it again. I have not had one single Democrat politician, one single liberal politician reach out to me and say, hey, thank you for what you're doing with property taxes. Let's help fix this thing. I've had a list of Republicans. And it just shows me the Republicans are out there fighting for the rights of all the liberal people that live in those houses that are getting taxed out of their homes. And it's you guys that are out there fighting. And it's an important thing to recognize. Man, I just want to take Alan West's words and let them echo in my mind for another hour. But I got to talk, so here we go. All right, let me just get a show of hands real quick. I just kind of want to understand. Has anybody seen any of the videos that I've put out for property tax stuff? All right. Few people. I've primarily focused in Tarrant County. There was 2 years ago I protested for 130 people in Denton County, but this past year in Tarrant County I protested for 20,000 people, do it absolutely free of charge. And the reason is because there are people getting taxed out of their homes, and the whole system of property tax doesn't make any sense at all. It's not easy for a property owner to understand. And I mentioned this a little bit, but they're inalienable rights. You've got life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. We have, gosh, when I stand in front of people, I don't tend to remember everything I want to say, but the 5th and 14th Amendments talk about the due process that has to happen in their protections on property. They change it instead of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It's life, liberty, and property. There's a God-given right that we have that the government just recognized. And if you can't pay for your property, then it just doesn't seem right for the government to be able to kick you out of that property. That's not right. But here's what's going to happen. As our property values go up and as the tax bill goes up and we can't afford it anymore, guess who can afford it? It's the people moving in from California. It's the folks moving in from San Francisco. It's happening in Austin. He talked about Austin. My family went on vacation in Austin, and we were driving. I didn't know. I mean, I heard about it a little bit, but we were driving through Austin at night, and the daggum autonomous zone Did you hear about it in Portland or wherever? They have one in Austin. The autonomous scum. There was some little Antifa guy. Looked like he just rolled out of bed and been playing video games all night. He was directing traffic, and I'm thinking this thing is upside down, and all of a sudden it looks like we're about to get a riot. There's boards everywhere, spray paint. It's crazy. People urinating all over the street. Just beer cans in the street. Just people. It's insane. The reason that's happening is because of the people that have moved into Austin. That's where they moved first. But guys, it's coming here. Denton County has been one of the most conservative counties, but it's changing. So many people are moving in. If we can't keep the homes affordable, if we can't keep them, things are going to change. So your vote, you're not even going to get to vote in the area you're voting in if we don't do something about property taxes. Okay, so let me give you some stories. There are actually, I'm going to tell you, there are 3 different ways, 3 different levels that we've got to fight this thing. There's the personal level, there's the local level, and there's the state level. Okay, I'm going to talk about the personal level because that's the thing that affects what's in your pocket. But let me tell you something. Did you know when the school district passes a budget, let's say the budget's $1 million, okay, which then we would wake up from our dream. But let's just say if it's $1 million, guess what? That $1 million budget is going to get satisfied no matter what, through property taxes. It doesn't matter if you protest or not. You can protest your property value down to 0. That budget's still going to get paid. Okay? So protesting doesn't solve the big problem. It solves your problem, and you must do it. You've got to protect. You owe it to your family. But it's twisted. Did you know that the appraisal district can just decide that the year built of your home is no longer 1980. Now they've just decided, they saw that there was a permit filed to fix up their property, and so they decided that they're gonna compare your home to all the homes built in 2005 or 2020. They don't have to tell you about it. They just do it automatically. Okay? That's one of the surprises you have whenever you go into protest. The proposed value that they send out in the mail, that value is not the value that you're going to fight against whenever you go protest. There's another secret number that they have that's not the proposed market value. There's another number. When you say, let's say if somebody proposes $200,000 for your property, if you go into protest, say, hey, it's not worth $200,000. They're like, yeah, no. We actually think it's worth $220,000. So you're going to have to talk us down to $220,000 to even have a prayer. Nobody tells you this stuff. There's a secret number behind the scenes that they have. In Tarrant County, they call it the indicated value. It's the value that they actually get by trying to do a little bit of research about your specific property. Who's ever had the appraisal district come out and walk through your house before they give you a value? One person? Okay.
They just make it up.
They just make it up. They just make it up. All right. I'm figuring out that timer. Let me just tee off here. Okay, so protest, the first thing on a personal level, go online and see if you can protest online. In Denton County, they do have a mechanism for that. If you, two quick little tips. The second tip is ask for the evidence that they're going to use against you prior to the hearing. Do your homework. They'll give it to you. They're required by law to give it to you. Get the evidence they're going to use against you. Do your homework and then come prepared. The third thing is you can actually go observe a hearing. They're required by law to let you observe a hearing. Go observe a tax agent that gets paid to do this stuff and watch them protest and learn how they do it. The second level we've got to fight is at the local level. Go to your budget meetings for the school district. Go to the budget meeting for the city whenever they're passing the budget. That's what your property tax money goes to. It's to satisfy those budgets. If you can go and get them to adopt a lower budget by holding them accountable, then they don't have to raise as much property tax money, okay? So Fran Rhodes is the leader on this. Another guy, Robert Montoya with Empower Texas, they're the only 2 people that are really in the know that are leading the charge on that. So get hooked up with them if you want to find out about that. Another thing, here locally, we had the mayor of Louisville, Rudy Durham, was also the chief appraiser for the Denton Appraisal District until we got a law passed that outlawed this. But there are shenanigans going on all day long with who gets elected to be the member of the board of directors at the appraisal district. These taxing entities have a vested interest, and I don't know why they care so much about getting people on the board, but they care a whole lot, and they're willing to do all sorts of crazy stuff to get their person on the board. And so you've got to hold your elected officials accountable to make sure they get somebody on the board of directors at the appraisal district that represents you instead of some other politician. The last thing I'm going to mention is the state level. There is not going to be a permanent solution unless the property tax code itself gets changed. Let me wrap up really quick. That's where the problem is. You've got to get the right people in. Matt Krause, state representative, worked to pass a bill. He will stand behind it. Hey, he reached out to my office and said, Chandler, you've protested for 20,000 people. What are the issues? Let's pass a bill. And the guy stood behind it, and I talked with the staff. I helped him write a bill. Jane Nelson wrote a letter for Tarrant County to start raising some heck. She drew some attention. Andy Hopper's running. He said his wife is my employees. His wife is my secretary, or not secretary, my assistant. We've got to get. What did I say? I'm not even. I'm trying to wrap it up. We've got to get the homestead exemption cap from 10% to 5%, or we're not going to stand a chance. And we've got to get politicians elected that are going to do that. Andy Hopper will do it. I don't know any other ones that will. And I've got to go because this gentleman is being very nice to me. But that's what we've got to do. Guys, go out there and vote and get the right people.